Eleanor Sanders stood in the kitchen, staring blankly at the faint steam rising from her coffee cup. The smell of freshly brewed Colombian roast filled the air, but it did nothing to shake the feeling of monotony that had settled over her life. She sighed, brushing a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear, and gazed out the window at the sprawling backyard she and her husband, Liam, had worked so hard to perfect. It was picture perfect, much like her life on the surface. A beautiful home, a thriving career as an event planner, and a husband who adored her. Yet, the nagging feeling that something was missing had been gnawing at her for months. Maybe even years. The sound of Liam's footsteps broke through her thoughts. He entered the kitchen with his usual disarming smile, his dark hair slightly tousled from his morning run. He kissed her on the cheek, his lips warm against her skin. "Morning, Ellie," he said, grabbing a water bottle from the fridge. "You seem distracted." Eleanor forced a smile. "Just thinking about the Johnson wedding. It's coming up in 2 weeks. And the bride keeps changing her mind about the floral arrangements." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because you've been staring at that coffee for the last 5 minutes like it's going to give you the meaning of life." She chuckled softly, appreciating his ability to call her out with humor. "Okay, fine. Maybe I've been lost in my thoughts. Anything you want to share?" Liam asked, his tone gentle but curious. Eleanor hesitated. She didn't want to burden him with her feelings of restlessness. It felt selfish, especially when their life was so comfortable. But Liam had always been her safe space, and she couldn't hide from him forever. "I don't know," she said finally, setting her cup down. "Do you ever feel like we've fallen into a routine? Like everything we do is just expected?" Liam leaned against the counter, crossing his arms as he studied her. "You mean us?" "Yes, us. Our lives. Don't get me wrong, Liam. I love you. And I love what we have. But I can't help feeling like something's missing. Like we've lost some of the excitement we used to have." Liam's expression softened. He reached out, taking her hand in his. "Ellie, I get it. I've been feeling it too. We've both been so focused on work, responsibilities, life. It's easy to let the spark fade." His honesty surprised her. She had expected him to brush off her concerns or reassure her that everything was fine. Instead, he seemed just as aware of the gap that had grown between them. "So, what do we do about it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam smiled, a flicker of mischief in his eyes. "Well, I've been thinking about that. And I have an idea, but it's a bit unconventional." Eleanor frowned, her curiosity piqued. "Unconventional how?" Liam hesitated, as if searching for the right words. Finally, he said, "What if we did something completely outside our comfort zone? Something that shakes us out of this routine?" "Like what?" she asked, tilting her head. "Like exploring new experiences together. Something that brings us closer but also excites us in a way we haven't felt in years." Eleanor blinked, unsure of what he meant. "Are you talking about a vacation or?" "Not exactly," Liam said, stepping closer. He took both her hands in his gaze steady and filled with affection. "I want to explore a different kind of intimacy. Ellie, I want us to trust each other enough to step into something new. Something bold." Her heart raced at the intensity in his voice. "What kind of bold are we talking about?" Liam took a deep breath. "I've been reading about couples who try new dynamics in their relationship. Things that push boundaries in safe, consensual ways. It's not about replacing what we have, but enhancing it." Eleanor's cheeks flushed. She wasn't naive, but the implication of his words sent a thrill of uncertainty through her. "You're suggesting we bring someone else into our relationship?" "Not in the traditional sense," Liam said quickly. "This wouldn't be about adding someone to us permanently. It would be about experiencing something different together, something that reignites our passion. But only if you're comfortable. This is about us, Ellie, you and me." Eleanor stared at him, her thoughts a whirlwind. She couldn't deny the small flicker of curiosity his suggestion sparked. But she also couldn't ignore the fear bubbling beneath the surface. "Liam, this is a lot to process," she said finally. "I know," he said gently, "and I don't expect you to have an answer right away. Just think about it, and know that no matter what, I love you more than anything." Later that day, Eleanor met her best friend, Sophia Rivers, for lunch at their favorite cafe downtown. Sophia was the kind of person who radiated confidence. With her fiery red hair and sharp wit, she had been Ellie's sounding board for years. And today was no exception. So, let me get this straight, Sophia said, stirring her iced coffee. Liam wants to spice things up by, what? Inviting other people into your bedroom? Eleanor winced at her bluntness. It's not quite like that. He's talking about us exploring something different together. Like an experiment. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Ellie, that's still a pretty big leap. How do you feel about it? I don't know, Eleanor admitted. Part of me is intrigued. I mean, Liam has never suggested anything like this before. He's always been so traditional. The fact that he's even open to something like this is surprising. But it also scares me. Sophia nodded, her expression softening. I get it. It's a big step, and it's natural to feel conflicted. But you need to ask yourself what you really want. Is this about making Liam happy? Or is there a part of you that's genuinely curious? Eleanor took a sip of her tea, letting the question sink in. I think, maybe it's both. I do want to make him happy. But I can't lie, I've been feeling restless too. Maybe this is a chance to explore that. Sophia reached across the table, squeezing Eleanor's hand. Whatever you decide, just make sure it's something you want. Ellie, not something you feel pressured into. Eleanor nodded, her heart heavy with both doubt and anticipation. Thanks, Soph. I'll think about it. Eleanor spent the next few days lost in thought, replaying her conversation with Liam over and over in her mind. His suggestion was bold, no doubt, but it was also filled with an unmistakable sincerity. He wasn't pushing her, he was opening a door. One that she could choose to walk through or leave closed. One evening, as she sat in her cozy reading nook, her favorite novel abandoned on her lap, Eleanor pulled out her laptop. She typed a few hesitant words into the search bar. How couples explore new intimacy. The results were both overwhelming and intriguing. Stories of couples strengthening their relationships through open communication, trust building, and even experimenting with unconventional experiences filled her screen. Some stories were heartwarming, others cautionary, but they all had one thing in common. They were rooted in consent and mutual respect. Eleanor couldn't deny the flutter of curiosity in her chest. The idea of stepping out of her comfort zone, of experiencing something entirely new, sent a thrill down her spine. But she also worried about what it might mean for her and Liam. Would this bring them closer? Or would it open a Pandora's box they couldn't close? That night, as she lay in bed beside Liam, she turned to him. He was scrolling through his phone, the soft glow of the screen highlighting his chiseled features. She hesitated, her heart pounding in her chest. Before finally speaking, Liam, she said softly, drawing his attention. He set his phone aside and turned to her, his expression gentle. What's on your mind, Ellie? I've been thinking about what you said. About trying something new. Liam's eyes lit up with a mix of hope and caution. And? I'm not saying yes. Not yet, but I think I'd like to learn more. If we're going to do this, we need to talk about boundaries, expectations, and what this means for us. Relief washed over Liam's face, and he reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. Of course, that's exactly what I want too. This has to be something we both feel good about. Something that strengthens us. Eleanor nodded, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. Then let's start with a conversation. Just the two of us. Over the next week, Liam and Eleanor devoted their evenings to open and honest discussions. They poured glasses of wine, lit candles, and created a space where they could share their thoughts without judgment. I think the idea intrigues me, Eleanor admitted one night, her cheeks flushed from the wine. But I'm scared. What if it changes how we see each other? Liam reached across the table, his hand warm against hers. Ellie, this isn't about replacing what we have. It's about adding to it. I want you to feel empowered. To experience something new, but only if it's something you truly want. She studied his face, searching for any sign of doubt. But all she found was love, unwavering and steady. What about jealousy? She asked. Aren't you afraid you'll feel left out? Liam smiled. Honestly, I think I'll feel the opposite. Watching you embrace your desires. Seeing you in a new light, it excites me. And knowing I'm a part of it, that I'm the one encouraging you to explore, makes it feel right. Eleanor's heart swelled at his words. She had always known Liam loved her, but his openness and support were more profound than she had imagined. They began to set boundaries. No experiences without the other present. No ongoing relationships with anyone else. And absolute honesty at every step. They agreed to take things slowly, with no pressure to move forward if either of them felt uncomfortable. I just want you to know, Liam said one night, that this is about us. If at any point it feels wrong, we'll stop. No questions asked. Eleanor nodded, her resolve strengthening. Okay, let's take this one step at a time. Liam, ever the planner, took the lead in arranging their first venture into this uncharted territory. He spent weeks carefully researching options, ensuring that their experience would be safe, respectful, and aligned with their boundaries. Eventually, he suggested a private dinner at an upscale lounge known for its discreet atmosphere and curated social events. Eleanor was nervous as the night approached, her stomach a jumble of butterflies. She confided in Sophia again, seeking reassurance. I think I'm ready, Eleanor said over coffee, but I'm terrified. What if I freeze up? What if I hate it? Sophia placed a comforting hand on hers. Ellie, it's okay to be scared. But remember, you're in control. If it doesn't feel right, you can walk away. Liam clearly loves you and wants you to feel safe. Eleanor nodded, taking comfort in her friend's words. You're right, I just need to trust myself. That evening, Eleanor stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the sleek black dress she had chosen for the occasion. Liam appeared behind her, his reflection radiating warmth as he wrapped his arms around her waist. You look stunning, he murmured, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. Do you think we're ready for this? She asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Liam turned her to face him, his hands resting gently on her hips. I know we are, but if at any moment you feel otherwise, just say the word. Eleanor nodded, drawing strength from his confidence. Together, they left the house, stepping into the unknown. The lounge was elegant and understated, its dim lighting casting a warm glow over plush seating areas. A soft hum of conversation filled the air, mingling with the faint notes of jazz playing in the background. Liam led Eleanor to a private booth, where they were greeted by Marcus King, the man Liam had carefully chosen to guide them through their first experience. Marcus was charming and disarming, with a calm presence that immediately put Eleanor at ease. It's a pleasure to meet you, Eleanor, Marcus said, his deep voice smooth as silk. Liam has told me so much about you. Eleanor blushed, unsure how to respond, but Marcus's easy smile and respectful demeanor quickly eased her nerves. They spent the first hour simply talking, sharing stories and laughing over cocktails. Eleanor found herself relaxing, her initial apprehension melting away. As the evening progressed, Marcus leaned forward slightly, his gaze meeting Eleanor's. You're an incredible woman, Eleanor. It's clear how much Liam adores you. Eleanor glanced at Liam, who nodded encouragingly. Her pulse quickened, a mix of anticipation and exhilaration flooding her senses. The conversation between the three of them was like a slow-burning fire, warm and filled with subtle sparks that kept Eleanor intrigued. Marcus's confidence was captivating, but it wasn't overpowering. He made her feel comfortable, respected, and in control, which was exactly what she needed. Liam sat close to her, his presence steady, his hand resting lightly on her knee as if to reassure her he was there every step of the way. As the night deepened, Marcus leaned in slightly, his voice soft but purposeful. Eleanor, I know this is new for you. I want you to know that nothing happens without your full comfort and consent. If at any point you want to stop or change direction, just say the word. Eleanor took a deep breath, her nerves fighting with the growing curiosity and excitement she couldn't deny. She glanced at Liam, who smiled warmly and gave her a small nod. His calm demeanor gave her the strength she needed. I appreciate that, she said, her voice trembling slightly but steadying with each word. I think I'd like to take it slow. Slow is perfect, Marcus replied, his smile genuine. He reached for her hand, his touch light and non-intrusive. It's about enjoying the moment, not rushing it. Eleanor felt a strange sense of empowerment. She wasn't just going along with Liam's idea, she was actively participating, making decisions for herself and her relationship. She smiled back at Marcus, feeling the tension in her shoulders begin to loosen. The rest of the evening unfolded gently. Marcus was respectful and attentive, engaging Eleanor in conversation and creating a connection that felt natural rather than forced. Liam stayed close, his presence reassuring but never intrusive. By the end of the night, Eleanor felt like she had taken a significant step forward, not just in her relationship with Liam but also in her own journey of self-discovery. The drive home was quiet, but not uncomfortable. Eleanor stared out the window, her mind racing with thoughts about the evening. She had felt a surprising mix of emotions, nervousness, excitement, and even a sense of pride. She had stepped out of her comfort zone, and though it was only the beginning, it had left her curious about what else she might discover about herself and her relationship. Liam broke the silence. "How are you feeling?" Eleanor turned to him, studying his face. He looked calm, but there was a hint of anticipation in his eyes. "I feel good," she admitted. "Better than I thought I would." Liam smiled, his hand briefly squeezing hers on the center console. "I'm glad. I was watching you all night, and you seemed so confident. I'm proud of you." His words warmed her heart. "I think I needed tonight. It wasn't just about us, it was about me, too. About realizing I can step outside my comfort zone and still feel in control." Liam nodded. "That's exactly what I wanted for you. This isn't just about spicing things up, it's about us growing together and discovering new sides of ourselves." As they pulled into their driveway, Eleanor leaned over and kissed him, her lips lingering on his. "Thank you, Liam, for being so patient, for understanding me. I love you." "I love you too," he replied, his voice full of emotion. Over the next few days, Eleanor found herself reflecting on the evening. She replayed the moments in her mind, analyzing her feelings and trying to understand what this meant for her and Liam moving forward. She was surprised by how natural it had felt to explore something new. But she was also keenly aware of the importance of setting clear boundaries. One evening, as they sat together on the couch, she brought it up with Liam. "I've been thinking about how we move forward," she began, curling her legs beneath her. "I feel like we need to revisit our boundaries and expectations before taking the next step." Liam nodded, setting down his glass of wine. "I was hoping you'd say that. I want this to be something we build together, with complete trust and honesty." They spent hours talking, reaffirming their commitment to one another and discussing how to navigate this journey. They agreed on several key points. Consent at every step. Both of them would have the right to stop or pause at any time without judgment. Emotional safety. They would regularly check in with each other to ensure neither felt neglected or overwhelmed. Communication. They would discuss each experience thoroughly before and after to ensure they were aligned. No secrets. Everything they did would be shared openly and honestly. By the end of the conversation, Eleanor felt a renewed sense of clarity and confidence. This wasn't just about exploring new desires, it was about building an even stronger foundation for their relationship. Liam introduced the idea of meeting someone new to continue their exploration. Someone who brought a different energy and perspective. Eleanor was nervous but intrigued, especially when Liam mentioned Jason Blake, a thoughtful, down-to-earth man who had expressed interest in being part of their journey. Their first meeting with Jason was over coffee at a cozy cafe. Jason was charming in a quiet, unassuming way, with a warm smile and an easy laugh that put Eleanor at ease almost immediately. He listened intently as she spoke, asking thoughtful questions and showing genuine interest in her thoughts and feelings. "I'm honored to be part of this," Jason said at one point, his tone sincere. "It's not every day you meet a couple as open and trusting as you two. I want to make sure this is a positive experience for both of you." Eleanor appreciated his approach. He wasn't trying to dominate the situation or make it about himself. He was focused on creating a space where everyone felt comfortable and respected. By the end of the meeting, Eleanor felt a cautious sense of excitement about taking the next step. Their second evening of exploration was more intimate than the first. Jason joined them at their home, where they shared dinner and drinks before moving to the living room. The atmosphere was warm and relaxed, with soft music playing in the background and candles casting a gentle glow. Jason's presence was calming, and Eleanor found herself opening up to him in a way she hadn't expected. They talked about everything from her favorite books to her childhood memories. And she was struck by how easy it was to be herself around him. As the evening progressed, the energy in the room shifted. Jason reached for her hand, his touch light and respectful, and Eleanor glanced at Liam, who nodded encouragingly. Her heart raced, but it wasn't from fear, it was from anticipation. Jason leaned in, his voice low and reassuring. "Eleanor, you're incredible, and I want this to be exactly what you want." She smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. "I trust you." As Jason leaned closer, Eleanor felt her heart pounding in her chest. It wasn't just the anticipation of the moment, it was the overwhelming mix of emotions coursing through her: excitement, nervousness, and a strange sense of empowerment. For the first time in years, she felt like she was discovering a new version of herself. Jason's touch was soft and deliberate, his hand brushing hers with a gentle familiarity that felt natural despite the newness of it all. He moved with care, his actions measured, as though he understood the weight of what this moment meant for her. Liam sat nearby, his expression calm yet filled with warmth. His presence grounded Eleanor, reminding her that this wasn't about stepping away from her marriage. It was about stepping into a new layer of intimacy and trust with the man she loved. As Jason leaned in, he paused, his dark eyes searching hers for permission. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Eleanor nodded, her voice catching in her throat. "Yes." His lips met hers in a kiss that was gentle at first, a tentative exploration that allowed her to set the pace. She felt her nerves begin to melt away, replaced by a sense of curiosity and connection. Jason's kiss was different from Liam's, not better, not worse, just different, and in that difference, she felt the thrill of discovery. Liam's voice broke through the moment, low and steady. "You're beautiful, Ellie." She turned to him, her breath hitching at the look of love and pride in his eyes. His approval, his encouragement, made her feel safe. This wasn't just for her, it was for them, for the bond they were building together. Jason pulled back slightly, giving her space to process. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his tone filled with genuine concern. Eleanor took a deep breath, her lips curving into a small smile. "I'm good, better than I thought I'd be." Jason chuckled softly. "Good, because this is all about you, Eleanor. There's no rush, no pressure, just you, me, and Liam." She felt the knot of tension in her chest loosen further. For the first time that night, she allowed herself to fully relax, letting the moment unfold naturally. The evening progressed with an unexpected ease. Jason's respect for her boundaries, combined with Liam's unwavering support, created a space where Eleanor felt free to explore without fear of judgment. They spent hours talking, sharing stories, and building a connection that felt as much emotional as it was physical. Eleanor found herself laughing at Jason's witty anecdotes, her nerves replaced by a sense of lightness. Liam chimed in occasionally, his presence always reassuring, never invasive. It felt like they were navigating this uncharted territory as a team, each step bringing them closer rather than driving them apart. At one point, Jason leaned back, giving Eleanor space to shift her attention to Liam. "How are you feeling about all of this?" Jason asked him, his tone genuinely curious. Liam smiled, glancing at Eleanor with a look of pride. "Honestly, I feel great. Watching Eleanor step into this with so much confidence, it's incredible. This is exactly what I hoped it would be." Eleanor's cheeks flushed at his words. "You've been amazing, Liam. I couldn't have done this without you." Jason nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It's rare to see a couple with this level of trust. You two are inspiring." The compliment filled Eleanor with a sense of pride, not just in herself, but in the relationship she and Liam had built. This wasn't about taking risks for the sake of it. It was about deepening their connection, finding new ways to support and uplift each other. When Eleanor woke the next morning, the first thing she noticed was the warm sunlight streaming through the bedroom window. The events of the previous night played in her mind like a dream, surreal yet vivid. Thrilling yet comforting. She turned to find Liam already awake, propped up on one elbow as he watched her with a soft smile. "Good morning," he said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Good morning," she replied, her voice still husky with sleep. "You've been watching me? Just thinking about how incredible you are," he said, his tone filled with sincerity. Eleanor's heart swelled at his words. She reached for his hand, their fingers intertwining. "Last night, it was a lot. But I feel good about it. Better than I thought I would." Liam nodded. "You were amazing, Ellie. Watching you step into something so new. Seeing you trust me and Jason, that meant everything to me." She paused, her thoughts turning serious. "What about you? Was it what you expected?" Liam's smile widened. "It was more than I expected. Not because of what happened, but because of how close it made me feel to you. This wasn't just about the physical, it was about us. About pushing past fear and into trust." Eleanor kissed him, her lips lingering on his. "Thank you, Liam, for giving me the space to discover this. For trusting me. Always," he whispered against her lips. As days turned into weeks, Eleanor and Liam continued to explore this new dimension of their relationship. They took their time, ensuring every step was taken with care and mutual consent. Each experience brought with it new challenges, but also new opportunities for growth. Eleanor began to notice subtle changes in herself. She felt more confident, more self-assured. She walked with a lighter step, her energy vibrant and magnetic. Her friends, including Sophia, couldn't help but notice. "You're glowing," Sophia said one afternoon as they met for coffee. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Eleanor laughed, sipping her latte. "It's not just one thing. It's a lot of things. But mostly, it's about learning to trust myself, and Liam." Sophia smiled, her eyes filled with admiration. "I'm proud of you, Ellie. It takes courage to step into something so vulnerable and come out stronger." Eleanor nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude for her friend's unwavering support. "It hasn't been easy, but it's been worth it. I feel like I'm discovering parts of myself I didn't even know existed." Of course, not everything was smooth sailing. There were moments of doubt, fleeting waves of jealousy, and unexpected emotions that surfaced along the way. One evening, as Eleanor and Liam debriefed after another experience, she found herself struggling to articulate a feeling she couldn't quite place. "I don't know," she said, pacing the living room. "It's not jealousy exactly, but it's something." Liam watched her carefully, his expression thoughtful. "Maybe it's vulnerability," he suggested. "This isn't just physical, Ellie, it's emotional, and that can be just as intense." She paused, considering his words. "I think you're right. It's like opening a door I didn't know was there. It's exciting, but it's also scary." Liam stood and pulled her into his arms. "Ellie, whatever you're feeling, it's valid, and we'll work through it together. That's the whole point of this, to learn, to grow, to trust." His reassurance steadied her, and she leaned into him, grateful for his unwavering support. Together, they navigated the complexities of their journey, emerging stronger with each challenge they overcame. As Eleanor and Liam continued their exploration, they found themselves rediscovering the depth of their love for one another. Their experiences weren't just about desire, they were about connection, communication, and understanding. One evening, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the city, Eleanor turned to Liam, her heart full. "I never thought we'd be here," she said, her voice soft. "But I'm so glad we are." Liam took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. "Me too, Ellie. This isn't just about the experiences, it's about us. About finding new ways to love and trust each other." Eleanor leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling a profound sense of peace. She knew their journey was far from over, but she also knew they would face whatever came next together. As the weeks passed, Eleanor and Liam found themselves in a rhythm, a balance between their explorations and the life they had always shared. The experiences were exciting, but they also brought a new level of closeness and communication that strengthened their bond. However, there was one evening that stood out, an experience that shifted everything. It was a quiet night, and instead of meeting someone new, They decided to have a night just for themselves. No guests. No outside influences, just Liam and Eleanor. They cooked dinner together, laughing and teasing each other over burnt garlic bread and a bottle of wine. The simplicity of the moment reminded Eleanor of why she fell in love with Liam in the first place. As they sat on the couch afterward, their laughter faded into a comfortable silence. Liam turned to her, his expression serious but tender. "Ellie," he began, his voice steady, "do you feel like we've found what we were looking for?" Eleanor looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion. She thought about the journey they had been on, the risks they had taken, and the trust they had built. But most of all, she thought about the man sitting beside her, the man who had loved her unconditionally, who had encouraged her to step into her own power. "I think we've found more than that," she said softly. "This wasn't just about spicing things up, Liam. It was about rediscovering ourselves, our relationship, and I feel like we're stronger now than we've ever been." Liam smiled, reaching for her hand. "I feel the same, and while I've loved exploring this side of us, I think what I've learned most is how much I value us. Just us." Eleanor leaned into him, her forehead resting against his. "Me too. I don't need anything else. Just you." After that night, Liam and Eleanor began to shift their focus back to their everyday life. The experiences they had shared weren't forgotten, they had become an integral part of their story. A reminder of their courage and growth. But they both agreed it was time to focus on their relationship as it had always been. A partnership built on love, trust, and mutual respect. Eleanor found herself more confident and self-assured in her daily life. Her work as an event planner thrived as she embraced the creativity and boldness she had discovered within herself. Liam, too, approached his career with renewed energy, inspired by the openness and vulnerability they had shared. One evening, they sat together on the patio, the sunset painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Liam held Eleanor's hand, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her skin. "I've been thinking," he said, his tone playful. "We've done a lot of exploring lately. But there's one thing we haven't done." Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "Oh, and what's that?" Liam grinned. "That trip to Italy you've always wanted. Let's do it, just the two of us." Eleanor's laughter bubbled up, light and carefree. "You're serious?" "Completely. I want to see you light up when we visit Florence, when we eat gelato in Rome, and when we watch the sunset over the Amalfi Coast. You've given so much to this relationship, Ellie. Now it's time for us to just enjoy each other." Tears pricked Eleanor's eyes as she leaned into him. "You always know exactly what to say. It's easy when I'm saying it to the woman I love." A year later, Eleanor and Liam found themselves walking hand in hand along the cobblestone streets of Florence. The trip to Italy had been everything they hoped for and more, a celebration of the love they had rediscovered and the life they had built together. As they stood on a bridge overlooking the Arno River, Eleanor turned to Liam, her heart full. "Do you ever think about everything we've been through?" she asked. Liam nodded, his gaze soft as he looked at her. "All the time, and I wouldn't change a thing. Every step of the way brought us closer to this moment." Eleanor smiled, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I love you, Liam. Thank you for always believing in us." "I love you too, Ellie, and I always will." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the city in a warm golden glow, Eleanor and Liam stood together, their hearts full of gratitude for the journey that had brought them here. They had faced the unknown, embraced the unexpected, and come out stronger, more connected, and more in love than ever. Together, they were ready for whatever the future held, knowing that as long as they had each other, they had everything they needed.